Hey guys, it's 3M Open Week, and we've got some huge Draftkings contests to take down and some money to win for this weekend. We head to TPC Twin Cities for the third time, and we only have 3 more weeks left until the FedEx Cup playoffs, so there's plenty to play for, plenty of drama for pretty much everyone in the field, and a lot of fun for us DFS golf players. In this video, I'm going to give my custom models top 6 picks for Draftkings DFS this weekend. 1 pick from each pricing tier. My models have been absolutely clicking of late. We've seen plenty of success as well with 2 of the last 3 winners, those being Cam Davis and Lucas Glover being core picks of mine. We also had the 2nd place finish winner last week, that being Jordan Spieth. Almost came through, but we'll be happy with that 2nd place finish, especially with our DFS contests. We also got 5 of our 6 core plays through, as well as 2 of our 3 sleeper picks and 5 of our 6 value plays. So overall, a very strong week for the Open, and we look to build on that momentum this week. My golfers as target are going to be based on my custom modeling technique, like I said before, that attempts to take a lot of the thought out of my DFS lineup making process. I prefer to rely on facts, modeling, and game theory rather than bias, opinions, and narrative. I have a lot of experience as an electrical engineer. I use a lot of the techniques, visualizations, and tools I've picked up as an engineer to help take on daily fantasy sports. Again, my goal is to really simplify it, to take a lot of the thought out of the process, and to become a more profitable DFS player. So my goal is to share that knowledge with you guys, give you guys some of the tools as well, whether it be for the PGA Tour, NFL, NBA, football, UFC, or more. So if you're looking for content in any of those fields, those sports for DFS, I'm your guy. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. On top of my video content, I also have a Patreon page I launched. Right now it's for the PGA Tour. I also have it up for my UFC projections, where I give a projection for every single golfer in the field. All 156, I project them all out. I give my winning percentages, I give ownership projections, of course projected points, as well as some of my game theory notes and whether they are in my player pool or not. I'm also going to be adding even more tools over the next few weeks. I'm going to be adding my course fit tool. I'm going to be adding a lineup builder eventually. That's going to take a little bit longer. There's some development that needs done with that. I have experience as a coder and as a computer engineer, so I'll be able to figure that out as well. But overall, there's going to be a ton of tools out there for you guys, lots of value. Right now, it's just $1. Again, you get the projections for all the PGA Tour events for every single player. My goal is to really show you what I have to offer right now. Obviously, the price is going to go up at some point. It's going to be a big source of revenue for me. But while it's cheap, while it's an extremely good value, I advise you guys to get in there, take advantage of it. With all that out of the way, though, let's hop into my top 6 picks for the 3M Open on DraftKings. So real quickly before we hop into the picks, I'm going to review my key metrics for my custom modeling this week. So like I mentioned, I use a custom modeling approach. I use a lot more than 3 factors in that model, but I'd like to let you guys know the top 3 that are weighed in that model, just to give you guys an idea of the type of players that I'm looking for. A lot of this is done with correlation models. A lot of it is done based on what we've seen here from the past. Players that played well, types of players, etc. This being the 3M Open, being a course that's relatively new, a lot of this has to be done on speculation. If you guys want to check out my full course breakdown, the link is going to be in the description for that video. I give a full breakdown of TPC Twin Cities, and even though we haven't seen it very often, we've seen it twice. I've watched the full tournament both times around, and we have an idea for how it plays. So check that out if you want to see the full breakdown. But my top 3 key metrics, at number 3 we had shots gained around the green. Putting is a little bit de-emphasized at TPC Twin Cities. We've seen a lot of bad putters putt well on the surface. It's a bent grass surface. It tends to run very pure, very consistent. So again, it's de-emphasized, and what's emphasized when that happens is usually around the green game. So when you make bogeys, it's going to be because you hit bad chip shots, because you put yourself in a bad situation. So that's why we factor that in a little bit more than putting this week. At number 2, we have total driving. This is a relatively long golf course. It's approaching 7,500 yards. And even though it's out of elevation in Minnesota, you still are going to have a huge advantage if you're long off the tee, and especially if you're in the fairway. We saw the winning score approach nearly 20 under par both times it was played. And hitting the ball from the fairway, being able to apply spin on it is going to be huge in a birdie fest. And at number 1, we have shots gained approach. That's a staple of any shots gained analysis, pretty much of any custom modeling that you'll see, and especially for something like TPC Twin Cities. They are relatively large greens. They're about 6,500 square feet on average, actually making them one of the biggest on tour. But when you're at an event where you're scoring 15, 20 under par, you're going to have good proximity to have any chance at scoring. If we take a look at the leaderboards from 2019, from 2020 as well, it's a lot of people that aren't great putters, but are great with their ball striking. People that have come in hot with their irons, and that's why I'm looking for people with good total driving, really good approach play, and if they have a good around the green game, that's a plus as well. Now for my top 6 golfers to target for my spend up tier, pricing above $10,000. We have Tony Finau, a $10,700 golfer, and I honestly think this might be the week that Tony Finau breaks out for his second ever win on tour. So his game really couldn't be any more suited for a course than it is for TPC Twin Cities. Like I said before, it's somewhere where you need to be able to drive the ball well, and you have to have really good iron play. And if anything's de-emphasized, it is the putting, and all those things really line up for Tony Finau. If we take a look at how he's played over the last 7 events, or 28 rounds, he's getting 1.15 strokes per round tee to green. He's gaining in all 3 categories. He's gaining respectively in all 3 at that. And on top of striking the ball, he's had a very good experience at TPC Twin Cities. He's also 0.13 strokes better per round on bent grass, and he has a very large sample size at that, so it's a very much more than randomness or noise at that point. He's established himself as a very good bent grass putter. And I think that if you guys saw my blog from last year, he was my pick to win here. I thought he was going to break through last year. Ended up finishing 3rd. On Sunday, he was in contention. He was in the lead for quite some time and blew a lead. Obviously, we've seen that from Tony Finau before. He's made it more than a pattern at this point. But at one of these points, he's going to break through. He's one of the most talented players in the world. He's arguably a top 5 talent based on pure talent and swing speed, etc. And I really think it's at this type of event, this type of field where he's going to get the job done. At a major championship where he has big game hunters flying him down, he's really going to be much more prone to choke. But at a weaker event like this, where there's only 3 to 4 guys that are really, really solid players, I think he has a much better chance of keeping it together. So he's definitely my spend-up option this week. I think he has a really good shot to win for the first time in a while. For my second man in, we have the Argentinian beast, Emiliano Grillo, a $9,300 golfer who was excellent at TPC Twin Cities last year. I've played him a lot in DFS. He's a sweetheart of mine due to his ball striking ability, and I think he's going to come out and have a very good showing in the 2021 version of this event. So like I mentioned, he's one of the best iron players in the world, and he's been absolutely striping them of late, which is very typical of the Argentinian. Over the last 28 measured rounds, he's gaining an absolutely ridiculous 0.89 strokes per round with his approach play. That's nearing 4 strokes over a tournament. He's number 2 in the field, only behind Stuart Sink, if you guys were wondering. That guy's been playing like an absolute fiend out there. But that kind of approach play is going to be extremely useful, especially at a birdie fest like we're going to have at the 3M Open. Not only is he an elite iron player, he's also a very accurate driver of the ball as well. He gains significantly off the tee. If we take a look at that same stretch of golf, he's also gaining 0.19 strokes per round off the tee. That's with hitting 63.89% of fairways. Both of those are elite numbers, especially in a weak field like this. But the icing on the cake for Grillo has just been unusually decent putter. Obviously, he's been one of the worst putters on tour since he came onto tour about 5 or 6 years ago. But over the last 28 rounds, and if we extend that even out to the last 56 rounds, he's gaining with his putter, which for Emiliano Grillo, that's like him gaining 5 to 6 strokes with his putter because he's just so bad. He usually leaks strokes with the putter. He's been gaining 0.06 strokes per round with the putter. If he's able to putt to that same rate, he's very, very much going to be in contention. He just has the iron play. He has the off the tee to play to put himself in plenty of good opportunities. And if he's able to gain a stroke or 2 putting this week, he's going to win the golf tournament. So he's somebody who I think is going to have a mediocre performance at the worst, just because of his ball striking. You know, he's going to make a cut, finish like 25th at the very worst. I obviously think his ceiling is to win. So definitely somebody I'm thinking about betting this week. Definitely somebody who's going to be a foundational piece of my DFS lineups. And I think you're going to see a trend here, guys, because with my bread and butter play, we have Keegan Bradley, another team no putt guy, coming in at $8,800. And over the last 7 rounds, he has been the best player in the field, tee to green. He's number 1 because he's been gaining in every category and very significantly in all 3 of those categories. He's gaining 0.5 strokes off the tee per round, 0.88 strokes on approach round. That's 3rd in the field, by the way, and also a 1/3 of a stroke per round around the green. That type of well-rounded approach is good for 1.71 strokes per round. It's exactly what I'm looking for at an event like the 3M Open. Like I mentioned before, putting is a little bit de-emphasized. You have these greens that are just very pure, very consistent, and we've seen a lot of bad putters perform well just because they're so consistent. They don't have so many bumps and bruises on them. So as a result, someone like Keegan Bradley could be due to go out and win for the first time in a while. I think he grades very similarly to Emiliano Grillo at even less of a price. And I'd be very confident starting my lineup with these two guys. Starting with Grillo, putting in Bradley, and having a very well-rounded lineup around them. I think that type of lineup construction could very well be optimal this week. And I think the kicker with Bradley, the thing that makes him one of my favorite plays of the year, a reason why I've already put a bet on Keegan Bradley to win this week, is that he's 0.22 strokes better per round on bent grass. He's somebody who's had his best performances on the bent grass surface. If you guys remember, about a month ago, it ended about a month ago, it started about 2 months ago, Keegan Bradley was gaining 1.5 strokes per round putting. The kicker there was all of those performances were on bent grass. So we get him back on bent grass. He was on bent grass last week at the Open and struggled, but those were very undulating greens. Here at TPC Twin Cities, they're extremely flat. There's hardly any hills to them at all. I expect him to catch some of that putting magic and to potentially even win this week. And now for my value play, we have Charl Schwartzel, an $8,200 golfer who has been on an absolute tear of late. He was a pick of mine last year for the 3M Open. He's somebody who just fits it well from a skill set, but he's also coming with the form this time around. So I think he's even a better play this time around. So he's a precise ball striker, like I said, and he contends when he gets a hot putter. So just like Keegan Bradley, just like Emiliano Grillo, he really makes his hay tee to green. And that's very evident when we analyze his play over the last 7 events. He's been gaining 0.54 strokes per round off the tee and 0.78 strokes per round on approach. Again, both of those are top 10 numbers in the field, especially the off the tee number. Charl Schwartzel is not somebody who typically gains that many strokes off the tee. He's been deadly accurate. He's been averaging 310 yards per drive, an extra 7 yards from what we saw last year. So clearly he's been in the lab adding some distance, either with a different driver, I would assume. A lot of times that distance is added with an inch or two longer driver, or sometimes it's done with some lag. So I'd have to look into that a little bit more to see how he's doing it. But either way, the numbers are the numbers. He's hitting the ball 7 yards farther this year. It's making a massive difference in his shots gained off the tee number. He's just as good on approach as he was last year, if not better. So I think he's primed for a top 5 finish at the 3M Open. And now for my diamond in the rough, we have Keith Mitchell, a $6,800 golfer who's pretty much either going to top 5 this week or miss the cut. There's no in between. He's somebody who is a very simple play for me this week. Again, he's somebody who can either win any golf tournament that he plays in or he's going to miss the cut. Of late, he's been on a cold streak. He's still gained 0.67 strokes per round off the tee, though. He's somebody who averages 325 yards per drive, tends to be pretty accurate as well. And perhaps that's why he's priced so far down, in this high 6K range. He's priced around guys that have 4 or 5 starts a year, hardly any made cuts. And to be quite honest with you, it's just a little bit disrespectful. Because when Mitchell has things rocking, there is no better player in the world. And I'm being quite serious when I say this. If we take a look at how he played at Quail Hollow in the Wells Fargo Championship, he was able to gain, and this is absolutely fucking nuts. There's no other way for me to put this. It's fucking nuts. He gained 12.13 strokes ball striking. That's off the tee and approach play, by the way. It's just those 2 categories. He gained 12.13 strokes ball striking. I don't know if we've seen that before since Tiger Woods. He was on an absolute roll. He lost like 6 strokes around the green or something crazy like that, and he still finished in the top 5. So he goes absolutely fucking nuclear. He's somebody who shouldn't be priced in the $600-800 range, because if he goes off, he could win this golf tournament by 10 strokes. So I bet him this week. He was at 150 to 1. I picked that up as soon as I saw that. He's somebody who's probably going to get bet down closer to like the 75 or even 80 to 1 range. I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the week. And if he ends up coming out and gains a stroke or 2 putting, he puts up those ball striking numbers that we see pretty consistently from him. He's going to contend. He's going to post like a top 5 or a top 10 finish. He's one of my favorite plays in the entire slate. I think he should be priced closer to $8,000, maybe even $8,200. And for him to be at the $6,800 mark, I think it's blatantly disrespectful. We saw disrespectful price tags on Daniel Berger last week, ended up posting a top 10 finish. I had him in over 50% of my lineups last week for the Open. We also had Sam Burns at $6,300. It was blatantly disrespectful. He did make the cut. He didn't have a great finish, obviously, but he still paid off that price tag. So I have a very similar vibe with Keith Mitchell this week, and I think he's well worth playing in DFS and also well worth betting in the betting market. And now finally for my flyer pick, we have JJ Spaun, a $6,400 golfer. And he's somebody who's a Korn Ferry Tour standout. We see him on the PGA Tour from time to time, typically at smaller, weaker events like we're seeing this week. But over the last 7 measured events, he's gaining in every category but putting, with gains of 0.29 strokes off the tee, 0.19 strokes on approach, and pretty good 0.14 strokes around the green. So that's good for 0.62 strokes tee to green. That's a respectable number. That puts him in the top 25 of the field, and he's priced down near the minimum at $6,400. So he's very good value. Somebody who hits the ball relatively straight, isn't very long off the tee. So it's really good to see him gaining that 0.29 strokes per round off the tee. Again, he doesn't do it with his distance, he does it with his accuracy. And I think at TPC Twin Cities, that's going to pay some dividends. Again, it is a relatively long golf course, but we are at elevation, so he's going to be getting even more distance than he's used to. But on top of having really good recent form, gaining in all 3 of those categories, he's a historically great putter on the bent grass surface. He gains an extra 0.28 strokes per round on bent grass. He obviously hasn't been a great putter of late. He's losing 0.47 strokes per round putting. But if he's able to harness some of that extra confidence, some of that familiarity on the bent grass surface, I think he could post a top 10 finish, maybe as a ceiling. But I think he's also a really safe bet to make the cut. So I love him as a flyer pick. I'm definitely going to have him in, I'd say, like 10 to 15 lineups this week. I think he's worth that type of investment if you're playing 150. All right, guys, that's all I've got for my top 6 DraftKings picks for the 3M Open. I'm going to have my top 6 value plays for DraftKings out tomorrow morning. Those are going to be my top 6 picks for my custom model underneath $7,500. That's one of my best videos of the week. We've had some winners from that range. We've had a lot of made cuts from that range. Over the last 3 weeks, we've only had 2 of our 18 picks miss the cut. So definitely a video you guys want to check out. I try to give you guys a lot of foundational pieces to build your lineups around in that $7,000 or $6,000 range. Let me know in the comments who you guys think wins this week for a chance to win a free month on my Patreon. If you guys are able to guess the winner, just put down one guess in the comments. I'm going to give you guys a free month of that. I'll give you the code and whatnot, discount code. So yeah, let me guys know who you guys think win this week. As always, make sure to like and subscribe if you guys enjoy the content. It really helps me out with growing the channel. It also makes sure that you guys are able to catch my content as soon as I post it. So it's a win-win. Make sure to go and hit that subscribe and like button right now. Good luck with your DFS lineups. Let's win some cash this week. Let me know via DM or message on here if you guys win some money. I can give you guys a shout out. Would be great for the community. So let's see you guys tomorrow for the values video, and peace.